Now, I may not hold a doctorate in NFL offensive strategy, but I've heard that it's very difficult to win in the NFL if you don't score any touchdowns. And that's what happened to the New York Giants tonight as they played the Dallas Cowboys. Now, it wasn't from the lack of any offensive production. The New York Giants seemed to be able to move the ball fairly well, but just were never able to close out the deal. Daniel Jones himself had a pretty respectable night. He threw for like 72% completions. He threw for no touchdowns, obviously, one interception, but that was kind of in garbage time, but threw for over 281 yards. Decent little thing. They couldn't run the ball. I saw the one stat come up that said, if I remember it right, that they averaged 1.1 yard per rush tonight. You're not going to win many games if you don't score any touchdowns, and you're certainly not going to win many games if you can't rush the ball for more than like 1.2 or 1.3 yards per rush. And this continues a very disappointing, what is now 1-3 season for the New York Giants. I mean, they got blown out by the Vikings, but as the season progresses, that loss looks less and less horrible because the Vikings are actually kicking ass pretty sufficiently. Then they lost that heartbreaker against Washington with the last second field goal. They got to win against Cleveland. Congratulations on that, I suppose. But they went into a game against a Dallas Cowboy team whose defense has been absolutely shredded the last couple of weeks against Baltimore, and of course that game against the Saints that they'll never want to talk about again. And you weren't able to mount more than 15 points, no touchdowns, never really be able to do anything dangerous. Now, look, there's a couple of obvious big things here. We already talked about the inability to rush the ball, their inability to actually close out the deal and get any touchdowns. But it was only a couple of plays, but there were 3 or 4 balls tonight that could have been really big plays for New York. And I don't know if you noticed this, like Daniel Jones had some really good zip on his short and mid-range passes tonight, but there were 3 or 4 opportunities they had where they went deep, where Jones was just continuously underthrowing the ball. Like there was one time that it got picked off, but that got called back because of a penalty, so that's fine. But a couple of times they had some deep opportunities, and the receiver always either had to stop their route or had to try to come back to it. And those plays in a game like this that ended up being a 5-point difference very well could have been the difference in the game. Now, on the Dallas Cowboys side, I mean, it's really more of a sigh of relief for them than it is any kind of big victory celebration. I mean, you beat the now 1-3 Giants. Congratulations. But you were only able to put up 20 points against a struggling Giants team. And it's funny because you would think Dak didn't have a good night, but Dak had a really efficient night. He threw for 81.5%, 2 touchdowns, moved the ball really well, 221 yards. I mean, there was no point in this game that Dak Prescott looked brilliant or even had to look brilliant, but he was very efficient. He made quick decisions with the ball. He made safe decisions with the ball. And when I say safe, I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, he was making safe, efficient, crisp, quick ball, quick out of his hand kind of moves. And he just did what he needed to do to win the game. But again, I wouldn't be throwing any parties if I'm the Dallas Cowboys. They have not looked super impressive. They've obviously looked horrible the last couple of weeks, and they got a win here, and that's great. But as you now look past this Giants game that you got away with a victory by the skin of your teeth, you now are looking at a game against a 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, against a very dangerous Detroit team, and depending on their status with their health, like will McCaffrey be back, will Deebo Samuels be playing, will Kittle be playing, whatever, but then you got the San Francisco 49ers. Theoretically speaking, you can go 0-3 in this next stretch. They clearly have some things they need to fix. So big sigh of relief if you're Dallas, but I wouldn't be throwing any parties. The Giants just have a lot of issues they need to look at. Their inability to break out any big plays, of course, no run game, not any touchdowns, inability to take advantage of a Dallas defense that looked much better tonight, but that had been exposed the last few weeks. They got some worries. Anyway, guys, what did you think about tonight's game? Dallas improves to 2-2. The Giants go down to 1-3. I don't think we learned an awful lot from this game, other than the fact that the Giants may be just who that we thought they were. So we'll be back for another instant reaction, overreaction tomorrow after or Sunday after the Sunday games. And until next time, guys, my name's John Campia. I'll see you later.